Hey, welcome back to the Kingsway Podcast. Excited you're here. Got a couple guests with us today, all the way from a different continent, which is they're just here for us. No, that's not true.
Oh, yeah.
Well, excited to have you guys here. Would you introduce yourselves real quick so they can get to know? Obviously, you are one of our missionary partners here at Kingsway. We've had a chance over the last year to kind of help you, and we'll get into that. But who are you? What are you guys about?
Yeah, so we're Maurice and Erica White. We are missionaries to Kenya, Africa with Firewind Ministries, and we grew up here in Mount Vernon.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we met, Eric and I have known each other since she was in high school.
Yeah.
As a youth pastor that probably should have. Anyway, whole other range of stories we could go into there. Yeah. But that seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But we got a chance to meet and hang out really for the first time and talk about your BOMA.
Right.
And talk about some of the things you guys are doing over in Africa together with your family, kind of heritage and legacy in Africa. And then obviously your guys' new branch of that and kind of a fresh roots and seeds that you guys are planting. So it was a total God thing. Like yesterday, I was talking with Jed. We were planning this podcast, and you just texted me, which I love the way you're so formal.
Yeah.
Hi, Pastor. Oh my gosh, he's the only one that does this. I love it. I'm like, you're right. No,
Yes.
I went to my wife. I'm like, look, I'm a pastor now. And so Erica texts me, and you're like, hey, we'd love to meet. And, we of course arranged a date. You guys are going to come September 13th and talk in front of our church. We're going to be able to pray for you, which I'm excited about, and that's amazing. And I'm sure we'll hopefully get to see some pictures and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But what my mind immediately went to is I know there's more that we can't talk about on those Sunday mornings because of time constraints. And then also there's some people that are deeply interested in this and really have a passion for it. And that they would love to know more. And so my mind was like, hey, maybe they can come tomorrow. And then you were like, we're just happening to come, which I was like, hallelujah. I was like, all right, here we go. So literally yesterday you got the text and now you're here.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that you could make it. What I want to do is we've been having talks for like over an hour now. Outside of this, Jed was putting together the techno stuff. Right, Jed? Good job, buddy. But now we have a chance to kind of share in front of people. And so I want to revisit some of the things we talked about and then also kind of dive a little deeper into maybe the future and, kind of some of the things you guys are looking forward to. Because I know you have, as uncertain as the last 9 months have been, I know there's some certainty you guys are moving forward to.
Yeah.
So let's just say this. The world, and it's almost like, it's been an interesting place over the last 9 months. What has it been like in Africa? Because I know a lot of people here, we've experienced a little bit with Southwest Missouri, but what has it been like in Africa? What's life been like over there?
Yeah, it's been, this pandemic has just hit all over the world, and Kenya did not escape it.
They didn't. Okay.
We got shut down pretty much right in March, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And right when we got shut down, they would not let churches congregate whatsoever. You couldn't do any kind of outdoor meetings.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't do a crusade. We could not go and do evangelism.
Yeah, absolutely, because you guys are your main crux, which is what we were talking about, is like evangelism, crusades, which is way more of like getting into these villages, getting into these bomas, that's an African village or family, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Getting into these local small places and literally bringing the first kind of sometimes verbal, sometimes just explanation of the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that just shuts down.
Yes.
Yeah. And it just
completely.
It really hit us, because our heart is evangelism and church planting.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
And I love your focus on that. I love it.
And so when that got taken away from us, we're like, okay, well, one, we're stuck here. Because, we got 5 months of...
Because they were just letting people fly all over the world.
All right,
pull the ripcord.
So planes were shut down. We didn't want to leave. But even if we wanted to,
we followed you on social media. It was fun to see that journey.
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing now? Like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly. And so we were kind of... we're floundering for just a little bit, trying to figure out what this season is going to look for us. Obviously, seeking the Lord in prayer, just trying to figure out what this is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And, almost right away, probably within the first several weeks, we realized that people were struggling because they shut down Market Day. And Market Day for the Maasai people, and really most of Kenya, is what they live on.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you're talking like it was probably more uncomfortable here than it was ever fearful in the sense of like, I've actually gained weight over this pandemic. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what you're talking about is like they couldn't get food.
Right.
Exactly.
They literally couldn't get food.
Yeah.
Their markets are, it's once a week. And so, you see this all over the world, but these markets go back years and years and years where once a week, the people come from all over. They walk, get taxis on motorcycles to come in. This is where they're selling their livestock, which the Maasai are herdsmen. I mean, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
So they sell their livestock. They buy livestock. They sell their wares. So you have women that make jewelry constantly to sell. Everything you can imagine happens at market day. And it's like apple butter making days every week.
Every week.
Every week.
Goodness.
So the excitement, everything, it's like the heartbeat of the community. And this is all over Kenya and in areas that look desolate during the week, and all of a sudden it comes alive. So when that was taken away from our Maasai, they also were like, okay, now what?
Because we have the privilege here to be able to just go on Amazon.
Right.
Like
yeah.
we have the privilege here to just jump on my phone. I mean, we just had Chipotle catered in
Yeah.
here for a staff.
Right.
You're like, how'd you get that?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I jumped on my horse and I wrote, I mean, it's serious though. And so they're looking at it going like, now what?
Right. How do
Right.
we get food now? And you have to imagine too, they don't have, even if they could go into town, they don't have vehicles to just go load up some bags of food. They would have
So they
to
can't
hire.
store up.
Right.
Right.
Then nor do they have the funds on hand to do that. So immediately, and I know Maurice could probably continue this, what he was saying, but immediately we started getting calls from our community and then from our leadership in just the church leadership saying, we have pastors calling that are hungry, that need food. They can't get to market and they're desperate and they're calling about their church members. So we have pastors that have their communities that are struggling. So almost immediately we started getting these calls and these requests.
And it's so cool that the Assemblies of God has that connection and that organization that you
Yes.
guys are connected with them to be able to just immediately have those conversations. That is
Yeah.
incredibly cool.
Yeah.
What's really, just a side note, the assistant superintendent of all of Kenya is actually Maasai. And
Ooh.
Maurice's grandparents married him and his wife and used to use, he was one of their translators way back. So God has really allowed for this awesome relationship
Yeah,
where we
partnership.
can, and partnership with him. So that's really neat.
So that was kind of like one of those, like when you say you're floundering, God's just setting you up, right?
Right.
He's just
Yeah,
positioning you
exactly.
well. You're just, the
Yeah.
timing had been there. So okay. So you start getting these phone calls, you start to see a need, because that's what the people of God should do, right?
Right.
When you don't know what to do, you look around and you look for some need that you
Yeah.
can meet.
Right.
You look a way to serve. That's why your hearts are in the right place. That's why you love these people. That's what I get so excited about. You know,
Yeah.
your mission gets thrown off, but the mission of God doesn't change. So you
Exactly,
just
yeah.
change a little bit of how you're doing things. So you start getting these calls. So what do you guys do? You just pack it up and go home, right? You're like, good luck.
See ya.
No, you didn't. What'd you do? Because I love hearing this part of the story. Because
Yeah.
I watched you guys on social media. It got crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, instantly we're like, okay, we can fill a need. And what they live off of, basically a staple food for them, is ugali, which is basically just cornmeal and water.
Cornmeal and what? Ugali?
Ugali.
Golly.
Oh,
Ugali.
yeah. Golly.
Oh, man, I could go a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
Ugali.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm a horrible
No, but yeah,
Southwest Missouri man. So how much does this stuff weigh? How
Yeah.
hard is it to?
so
Does
it's
it keep?
pretty easy to get, and it
Okay.
also lasts for a while.
Okay,
Like
that's
it's
awesome.
it's basically just corn, and they'll grind it up at a mill. So we would take it to a mill and grind it up for them, so they didn't have to go through the cost of doing something like that.
Yeah.
And once that happens, I mean, as long as it doesn't get like moisture or anything like that, and which we thought wouldn't be an issue, but we had flooding and stuff.
Yeah,
go
we're
on.
going to get to that in just
Yeah.
a second. So
Yeah.
you start to meet the needs. I mean, like, give me some ideas. Like
Yeah.
in the first month, how much food are you delivering? I mean, how much food are you
So-
starting to deliver?
So each trip they would do, so to go back to the question too of like how much, so each bag was about 100 pounds.
Because I saw bags and
And-
bags and bags on cars and
Yes.
trucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and so it was about what, $50 a bag,
Yeah.
if I remember right. So it's 50. It was, so we do $100 or 100-pound bags. Each delivery was anywhere from like 10 to 20 bags usually.
Yeah,
Sometimes
most of the time it was a solid ton.
it was
that
a
we were
a
delivering.
1 ton every delivery, and so this would go out usually once a day because it would take a few hours to get to where they were going, then turn around, come back. So that's kind of what we're looking at each trip.
So you get 20 bags of this ugala.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugali.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this
There it
right.
was, there it was.
Ugali. and then you throw it in the back. All right. And then you just take off. But here's what I can preach all day on this, but I'm not going to. When you get you get the right thing in the right place and you get God behind you, most of the time you run against some opposition.
Oh yeah.
So what kind of opposition? Because I heard some soldiers, I heard some ideas of like you're not allowed to be in crowds, and then I heard even nature itself was not on your team. So I mean, what kind of opposition are you running? Because it doesn't sound like it went even smooth.
Yeah, no, it definitely
Right.
did not. Like probably day one, we started getting stuck. So Kenya at the time was experiencing a
unprecedented
amount of rain. I mean, we were getting floods everywhere. I mean, our camp literally was under probably a foot of water.
all
That's just
over.
crazy.
And we live in sub-Saharan Africa, so we're usually used to droughts, where we're dealing with the other side of it, and now we're walking around in galoshes
Now, are
and
you on the
totally
southern
different.
hemisphere? So are you guys? Is this your winter? Or is this your summer?
So summer's kind of opposite.
Yes.
So right now it's their winter.
It's their winter,
It's cold,
right.
colder there
But this
right
is
now.
like
Colder.
the fall, right? Would that be
Sort of,
fall
yeah.
for you?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
experiencing this like
Right.
coming out of summer. It's supposed to be
Yes.
hot.
Right,
And you're
right.
experiencing this like
Crazy rain.
Crazy.
And to give an idea, the Mara River is like the famous Mara River that a lot of the camps, safari lodges are on. And the Mara River was a meter out of its banks on either side.
Yeah, just completely
We had
wiped out
areas
camps.
that had landslides just destroyed. This was not just our area, this was all over Kenya.
so. This probably amplified. It would have been a problem even if there hadn't been a pandemic.
Exactly.
Right.
And so this amplified the need. So you were not only ready, but then it probably gave you even more solace to go, this is what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so how many of these trips did you make? You got a ton, and you're getting stuck every day.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and I saw some of those like get stuck. This isn't like I got in the cornfield. And
No, this is like there's water flowing into the car.
Water and mud in these like Land Rovers, not like a
Exactly.
Civic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, we probably did.
So this started in the beginning of April.
Yeah.
Okay. And mostly Maurice and his grandfather.
Yeah, a lot of organization though.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah,
doing
yeah.
the physical delivery.
It lasted through even into June.
Yeah.
You were delivering, and then in July it tapered off because there was starting to be some more openings
Cool.
in the country. There were still like maybe here and there we would hear of somebody in our community that needed a bag or two, but not like the bulk, loads that were going out.
Yeah, and they did like trial runs of like, okay, we're going to open up market for a few weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, which just helped the economy for
Just
sure.
catch back up. Which I mean, you even mentioned as we were talking earlier that the Messiah, these livestock and the rain actually helped that livestock kind of gain a little bit. So
It
even
did.
at these markets, they were waiting, and then people are probably hungry. So it's that double-edged sword where it's like, perfect. All right, we have food. It's ready. Okay.
Right.
So as things started opening up, the need started to taper off.
Yeah.
So, I heard a number, and it sounds like if you did a trip, right? That's at least 30 trips.
Right.
Is that right? Because you guys did over 77,000
Yeah, it was like
pounds.
76,000
pounds. So that's like 30, 35 or 32 trips or whatever I can do.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's like, go get it from wherever you got to get it. Cause it's not like you guys have the storehouse of ugali, right? It's not like you got this like giant silo of ugali, right? You got to go somewhere and get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you got to put it in the car. Then you got to get it to wherever it's going. And it sounds like you got to go like riverboat it, whatever you got to do to get it there. So here's the cool thing, right? So you went from, this is where my mind went. You went from planting seeds spiritually to giving away seeds,
Right.
physically.
Right.
And that to me, it sounded like with our conversations that it opened some doors to maybe have some opportunities to plant some spiritual seeds later.
It definitely did. So one of the coolest things for us was just being the hands and feet of Jesus extended. Like, this, if Jesus was on earth, I really feel like this is something he would have done. As people are struggling, he probably would have just created, done a crazy miracle. Here it is.
Yep.
But it was so cool. And because people saw that, these people actually love us. They're not here to, say that this is what they're doing, that they're here in Kenya, but they genuinely, I feel like, saw the love of Jesus. And one of the areas that we went to was an area that was completely wiped out by flooding. I mean, it wasn't the Mara River. Do you even remember what river it was?
No,
or was it the Mara?
No, well, it could have been. It was over it was over in an area that is kind of a mix of terrain, and you're starting to get into different terrains.
Yeah.
Also near some of the Mara camps, so that area.
Yeah, and so anyway, they had literally lost, I think, like 10, 15 villages.
Very hilly in this area.
Yeah.
Very mountainous.
And so
just washed it all out.
And there were people that died, but there were people who made it out, and they actually ended up kind of congregating at the school at almost like a refugee camp area. And so they had asked us, they had heard that we were bringing out food to all these different churches and people in communities and things like that. So they had actually contacted the KAG assistant and general and wanted us to come out there. So we were like, yeah, of course, that's what we're here to do. Absolutely. We want to do that. And we were able to go there, and man, it was
stuck.
Crazy. Got
Multiple
stuck. We didn't
times.
we didn't go out on a trip and didn't get stuck. But once we got there, we delivered the food, and we were able to just give a very brief message, even though that wasn't really something that we were supposed to be doing. Since they were already there, we were like, you know what, why not? And we just said, we are delivering this food because Jesus loves you. This isn't about us. This is about Jesus caring about the Maasai people right where you are. And even though that there is a pandemic going on all over the world, Jesus cares about this flood, what happened to you guys, and he is going to continue to provide for you through this. And after we got done talking with them about that, the chief of the area came up to us and said, this is an area we haven't done a whole lot of ministry in, but he invited us to come back and was like, we want more of what you guys are offering. Whatever you guys do, if you want to come preach, if you want to talk to us, you want to plant a church, whatever you want to do, we are now open to do that. Woo! And so it was awesome.
God has been so faithful.
He's been so faithful.
That is so cool.
Has been the word that I think that just so faithful.
Yeah. And I know God's faithfulness most of the time, I know we talk about it a lot here, is God's past faithfulness is proof of his future faithfulness. Yep. And in the midst of a lot of this stuff, I know there was doubts and periods, I'm sure, that you were wondering if you had missed what God had called you to do, that you were missing the opportunities. And I think God is faithful is not just to meet the needs, not just take care of the physical needs, but also prepare the ground for the coming.
Right.
And I think there's something in this that I've always seen evangelism work in kind of a 3 cadence. There's people that plant the seed, grow the seed, and then harvest. Right. And so a lot of times you guys were harvesting. Yeah. But maybe you just were in a season of planting.
Right.
And that, there might be some things that grow. That's so cool. So here's my next set of thoughts. Like, where are you going? Like, what's the plan now? Like, obviously you're here now. You're back, kind of telling this story of this different season that you went through. Yeah. What's the plan? What's next?
Yeah. So we left right when basically they opened the country up.
Right.
So we felt like, we had walked with them through this, we'd helped them with them, and it was a good time for us to go ahead and come back and try to raise funds and things like that to go back overseas. And so there's a bunch of bush camping ministries that we are planning, and a lot of it actually came from, what we were doing with planting. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to remember, one of them was the Ngorende area.
Which is the one that he was just sharing about. Yeah. There's another area that's unreached. These are all unreached areas. There's another area that's unreached near the escarpment, which is the escarpment's like the gateway to the Maasai land. Yeah. So it's over there. And I think there's another one by Narusara and into the Luita Hills, which I know that means nothing to whoever's listening, but this is an area that is deeply wild, and
they still do animal sacrifices there.
So each of these areas in this spot is something that God has opened the door for us to be able to go, and a lot of it has come from this season. And I think that one of the blessings of this last season is not just getting to plant the seeds by delivering food, but making the relationship with these people. And as you know, with any ministry, whenever you're able to have a relationship with them, that door is open to be able to speak into their life. And so that's what's so exciting, is feeling that deep relationship with our community right close to us, and then also in just greater Kenya.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And that, even Jesus chose Judas.
Yeah.
And there was a relationship in that. And so there's a part of this too that I think it's so cool that you're getting to reach and get into places that maybe you've never been before. And you're extending, and I love that message that God knows your name. He knows your story. He knows right where you're at. Yep. A lot of people that are probably disconnected from the rest of the world and feel very small. And And when something tragic happens, they feel even smaller.
Right.
Feel like nobody cares and nobody knows about who I am. Can happen here just as easily there. Doesn't mean that you can't be surrounded by people and still feel alone. But when you're out in the bush,
Right.
and you're really alone,
Really.
it's
Yes.
no longer like, maybe I'm alone. No, you are. Sure. I love to hear the stories of how you guys are reaching these groups of people that have never had the opportunity to truly receive or hear about Jesus. It can change everything. And I know when we talked over a year ago, sat in one of the classrooms right over here, and you guys expressed your desire to create BOMAs and to invite other people into your family. That was a part what connected Kingsway to you. And we were able to partner with you guys and get a church planted, which I'm excited to hear, how the next year's going to go, because it probably is a little different for this last year. But even the future, I think, knowing that, you guys in your last newsletter had said you've already met some of the goals that you were looking to raise and that you're looking to go further for the next year. And I know that if anybody's interested in your newsletter, we'll probably put that in the link to, get connected with your guys' ministry. And then honestly, if you have any comments or questions about anything that we talked about, please put it in that. We'll get that to you guys. Is there any way that, that we can get people connected? Is there an alley, a tunnel, a connection point that you would want people that if they're listening to this are like, hey, if you want to be a part of what we're doing, if you want to partner in with what we're, where we're at, is there a link or something that we need to post, or what's that look like?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much. And thank you for having us. We're so thankful to have just, like you said, partners in ministry and to get to share what God's doing. So if anybody would like to connect with us, our website is Firewind. That's fire and wind right there. So firewindministries.org. On there is at the bottom is a subscribe, and you can put your name and your email. And that's one way to get our monthly newsletters. Also on our website are the links to our social media pages. So we're pretty active there.
It's awesome. I learned what a puff adder was.
Yeah.
Because your dogs kept playing. And if you don't know what that is, it is a very friendly, large, poisonous snake that seems to like your tent more than I am comfortable with.
Me
and you
too.
sleep there.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
Me too. Trust me. Yes. So that is really the best way to kind of keep connected, and email and while we're here in the US, just we're here. We would love to chat with anybody that has questions, and we want to pray with you. And if you could pray for us, we would love that.
Yep. Well, that's awesome. I know we'll be able to put that link in there. I know if you're listening and you're a part of Kingsway on September 13th, you guys are going to be back. Hopefully we'll get to share a couple pictures, like I said, and we'll be able to talk briefly about what we've shared, but this is going to obviously be a little bit more detailed. On the personal side of thing, I just want you guys to know that we're proud of you. We're excited. Thank you so much for serving and doing it with an awesome attitude. I love your media pages and all that stuff. There's an uplifting side of me that when I was uncomfortable sitting in my house watching Tiger King in April with all the food I could want, I would look at your social media page and you know what? Got it pretty good. So I appreciate your sacrifice and your humble hearts to do what God has called you to do, and your flexibility to change your actions in the midst, and just to not buckle. You could have been forceful and said, we're going to do this anyways. But I think you took the hint, and I think you listened to the Holy Spirit, and you moved in a way that God was wanting to move, and used you in a powerful way. And I'm excited to see what fruit comes out of that, because it wasn't part of your plan, but God's plans are always bigger. Than
they are.
Yours.
Yes. Yep.
So be praying for them. I know they need to rest, recoup, take some Sabbath.
Yes.
and also get you guys just uber excited to go back with a focus again, and maybe your ministry is going to look a little different, and it'll be pieces, and going, okay, maybe some of this seed planting is now going to be a branch of what we're doing to get into some of these communities.
Right.
I'm not sure. I could tell that would be a process that I would go, all right, I got to think this through to say, maybe we got to be a little bit of hands and mouth, and not just the piece that's done. And maybe God's going to change the whole future of things through that. And hopefully you get a little less rain.
Yes.
Just a little less. I want you to get enough. So, well, thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. Again, if you have any questions or whatever, put it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this time to get to know Maurice and Erica White and their ministry, Firewind. And I know that you'll be blessed, and you'll truly enjoy it if you choose to follow them on social media and watch and continue to see what God's doing. So thanks so much for being here. You guys have a great, glorious day in the Lord. See you later.
Thank you.